Congratulations, because you've arrived up to this part and you are now in the second half of this report. This is the part 3 out of the 4 videos of my report. For the continuation, previously I discussed the Cluster A personality disorders, and now I will be discussing the Cluster B personality disorders. Cluster B is the dramatic, emotional, or erratic cluster and consists of antisocial, borderline, histrionic, and narcissistic personality disorder. Individuals with these personality disorders often experience problems with impulse control and emotional regulation. Due to the dramatic, emotional, and erratic nature of these disorders, it is nearly impossible for individuals to establish healthy relationships with others. The first cluster B personality disorder is the antisocial personality disorder. The antisocial personality disorder has its essential feature is the persistent pattern of disregard for and violation of the rights of others. This pattern of behavior begins in late childhood or early adolescence and continues throughout adulthood. While this behavior presents before age 15, the individual cannot be diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder until the age of 18. Prior to the age 18, the individual would be diagnosed with conduct disorder. So, although not discussed in this report as it is a disorder of childhood, conduct disorder involves a pattern of repetitive and persistent patterns of behaviors that violate the rights of others or major age appropriate norms. Common behaviors of individuals with conduct disorder that go on to develop antisocial personality disorder are aggression toward people or animals, destruction of property, deceitfulness or theft, or serious violation of rules. So, while commonly referred to as psychopaths or sociopaths, individuals with antisocial personality disorder fail to conform to social norms. This also includes legal rules, as individuals with antisocial personality disorder are often repeatedly arrested for property destruction, harassing or assaulting, or stealing. Deceitfulness is another hallmark symptom of antisocial personality disorder, as individuals often lie repeatedly as a means to gain profit or pleasure. There is also a pattern of impulsivity, decisions made in the moment without forethought of personal consequences or consideration for others. This impulsivity also contributes to their inability to hold jobs, as they are more likely to impulsively quite quit their jobs. Employment instability, along with impulsivity, also impacts their ability to manage finances. It is not uncommon to see individuals with antisocial personality disorder with large debts that they are unable to pay. While also likely related to impulsivity, individuals with antisocial personality disorder tends to be extremely irritable and aggressive, repeatedly getting into fights. The marked disregard for their safety as well as the safety of others is also observed in reckless behavior such as speeding, driving under the influence, and engaging in sexual and substance abuse behavior that may put themselves at risk. Of course, the most and the devastating symptom of antisocial personality disorder is the lack of remorse for the consequences of their actions, regardless of how severe they may be. Individuals often rationalize their actions as the fault of the victim, minimize the harmfulness of the consequences of their behaviors, or display indifference. Overall, individuals with antisocial personality disorder have limited personal relationships due to their selfish desire and lack of moral conscience. So this is the DSM-5-TR diagnostic criteria for antisocial personality disorder. So the essential feature of antisocial personality disorder is a pervasive pattern of disregard for and violation of the rights of others that begins in childhood or early adolescence and continues into adulthood. This pattern has also been referred to as psychopathy, sociopathy, or dissocial personality disorder. Because deceit and manipulation are central features of antisocial personality disorder, it may be especially helpful to integrate information acquired from systematic clinical assessment with information collected from collateral sources. But remember here, as and that it should be as indicated by three or more of the following. So first, for the criterion A1, the pattern of antisocial behavior continues into adulthood. Individuals with antisocial personality disorder fail to conform to social norms with respect to lawful behavior. They may repeatedly perform acts that are grounds for arrest, whether they are arrested or not, or and such as destroying property, harassing others, stealing, or pursuing illegal occupations. Persons with this disorder disregard the wishes, rights, or feelings of others. For the criterion A2, they are frequently deceitful and manipulative in order to gain personal profit or pleasure. Say, for example, to gain or to obtain money, sex, or power. They may repeatedly lie, use an alias, con others, or malinger. For criterion A3, uh, a pattern of impulsivity may be manifested by a failure to plan ahead. Decisions are made on the spur of the moment without forethought and without consideration for the consequences to self or others. This may lead to sudden changes of jobs, residences, or relationships. For criterion A4, individuals with this antisocial personality disorder tend to be irritable and aggressive and may repeatedly get into physical fights or commit acts of physical assault, including spouse beating or child beating. Aggressive acts that are required to defend oneself or someone else are not considered to be evidence for this item. For criterion A5, these individuals also display a reckless disregard for the safety of themselves or others. This may be evidence in their driving behavior. Say, for example, that is in recurrent speeding, driving while intoxicated, and multiple accidents. They may engage in sexual behavior or substance use that has a high risk for harmful consequences. They may also neglect or fail to care for a child in a way that puts the child in danger. For criterion A6, individuals with antisocial personality disorder also tend to be consistently and extremely irresponsible. Irresponsible work behavior may be indicated by significant periods of unemployment despite available job opportunities, or say by abandonment of several jobs without a realistic plan for getting another job. There may also be a pattern of repeated absences from work that are not explained by illness, either in themselves or in their family. Financial irresponsibility is indicated by acts such as defaulting on debts, failing to provide child support, or failing to support other dependents on a regular basis. For the criterion A7, individuals with antisocial personality disorder show little remorse for the consequences of their acts. They may be indifferent to or provide a superficial rationalization for having hurt, mistreated, or stolen. These individuals may blame the victims for being foolish, helpless, or deserving their fate. So, for this diagnosis to be given, the individual must be at least age 18 years old. That is in criterion B. For the criterion C, it must have had evidence of conduct disorder with onset before age 15. And conduct disorder, like I've already this read its definition earlier, involves a repetitive and persistent patterns of behavior in which the basic rights of others or major age appropriate societal norms or rules are violated. For the criterion D, the antisocial behavior must not occur exclusively during the course of schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. So here is the facts for antisocial personality disorder. Prevalence is low compared to other personality disorder, but is highest in men with most severe alcohol use disorder. For its comorbidity can co-occur or could co-occur with other personality disorders like the borderline, the histrionic, and narcissistic personality disorders, and may be associated with anxiety, mood, substance use, somatic, and gambling disorder, can also or may also experience dysphoria. For onset, it emerged before 15 and continue into adulthood. For its course has a chronic course but may be or may become less evident or remit as the individual grows older, often by age 40. For the gender differences, antisocial personality disorder is found three times as common in men than in women. The next cluster B personality disorder is the borderline personality disorder. The term borderline personality originally was used by psychodynamic therapists to describe patients whose personality was on the border between neurosis and psychosis. However, it is generally used to describe the DSM-5-TR personality disorder that includes some feature of that type of personality. The borderline personality disorder is characterized by volatile emotions, an unstable self-image, and impulsive behavior in relationships. So, individuals with borderline personality disorder display a pervasive pattern of instability in interpersonal relationships, self image, and affect. The combination of these symptoms causes significant impairment in establishing and maintaining personal relationships. They will often go to great lengths to avoid real or imagined abandonment. Fears related to abandonment often lead to inappropriate anger, as they often interpret the abandonment as a reflection of their own behaviors. It is not uncommon to experience intense fluctuations in mood, often observed as volatile interactions with family and friends. Those with borderline personality disorder may be friendly one day and hostile the next day. So, in an effort to prevent abandonment, individuals with borderline personality disorder will often exhibit impulsive behaviors such as self-harm and suicidal behavior. In fact, individuals with borderline personality disorder engage in more suicide attempts, and completion of suicide is higher among these individuals than the general public. Other impulsive behaviors, such as non-suicidal, self-injury, and cutting promiscuity, are frequently seen within this population, typically occurring during high stress period. Another key characteristics of a borderline personality disorder is unstable and intense relationships. Say, for example, that individual that has a borderline personality disorder may idealize or experience intense feelings for another person immediately after meeting them. Occasionally, hallucinations and delusions are present, particularly of a paranoid nature. However, these symptoms are often transient and recognized as unacceptable by the individual. Moving on, this is the DSM-5-TR diagnostic criteria for borderline personality disorder. The essential feature of borderline personality disorder is a pervasive pattern of instability of interpersonal relationships, self-image and affects, and marked impulsivity and begins by early adulthood and is present in a variety of contexts. Remember here, as indicated by five or more of the following criteria. First, for the criterion one, individuals with borderline personality disorder make frantic efforts to avoid real or imagined abandonment. The perception of impending separation or rejection, or say the loss of external structure, can lead to profound changes in self image, affect, cognition, and behavior. These individuals are very sensitive to environmental circumstances. They experience intense abandonment, fears, and inappropriate anger even when faced with a realistic time limited separation or when there are unavoidable changes in plans. Say, for example, that if they encountered sudden despair in reaction to a clinician's announcing the end of the hour, or they panic or fury when someone important to them is just a few minutes late or must cancel an appointment. They may believe that this abandonment implies they are bad. This abandonment fears are related to an intolerance of being alone and a need to have other people with them. For criteria number two, individuals with borderline personality disorder have a pattern of unstable and intense relationship. They may idealize potential caregivers or lovers at the first or second meeting, demand to spend a lot of time together, and share the most intimate details early in a relationship. However, they may switch quickly from idealizing other people to devaluing them, feeling that the other person does not care enough, does not give enough, or is not there enough. These individuals can empathize with and nurture other people, but only with the expectation that the other person will be there in return to meet their own needs on demand. These individuals are prone to sudden and dramatic shifts in their view of others, who may alternatively be seen as beneficent, supports, or cruelly punitive. Such shifts often reflect disillusionment with caregivers whose nurturing qualities had been idealized or whose rejection or abandonment is expected. For criterion 3, there may be an identity disturbance characterized by markedly and persistently unstable self image or sense of self. There are sudden and dramatic shifts in self image, and although they usually have a self image that is based on the feeling of being bad or evil, individuals with this disorder may at times have feelings that they do not exist at all. This can be both painful and frightening to those with this disorder. Such experiences usually occur in situations in which the individual feels a lack of a meaningful relationship, nurturing, and support. These individuals may show worse performance in unstructured work or school situations. This lack of a full and enduring identity makes it difficult for the individual with borderline personality disorder to identify maladaptive patterns of behaviors and can lead to repetitive patterns of troubled relationships. For criterion 4, individuals with borderline personality disorder display impulsivity in at least two areas that are potentially self-damaging. They may gamble, spend money irresponsibly, binge eat, abuse substances, engage in unsafe sex, or drive recklessly. So individuals with this disorder display recurrent suicidal behavior, gestures, or threats, or self-mutilating behavior according to criterion 5. For criterion number 6, individuals with borderline personality disorder may display affective instability that is due to a marked reactivity of mood. The basic dysphoric mood of those with borderline personality disorder is often disrupted by periods of anger, panic, or despair and is rarely relieved by periods of well being or satisfaction. These episodes may reflect the individual's extreme reactivity to interpersonal stresses. For criterion 7, individuals with borderline personality disorder may be troubled by chronic feelings of emptiness, which can co occur with painful feelings of aloneness. They feel easily bored. They may frequently seek excitement to avoid their feelings of emptiness. For criterion 8, individuals with this disorder frequently express inappropriate intense anger or have difficulty controlling their anger. They may display extreme sarcasm, enduring bitterness, or even verbal outbursts. The anger is often elicited when a caregiver or lover is seen as neglectful, withholding, uncaring, or abandoning. So during periods of extreme stress, transient paranoid agitation or the dissociative symptoms, like for example, the depersonalization may occur according to criterion 9. But these are generally of insufficient severity or duration to warrant an additional diagnosis. Next is the facts for borderline personality disorder. So its prevalence is high, for the comorbidity could co-occur with other personality disorders and can or could co-occur also with other disorders like depressive, bipolar, substance use, anxiety, eating, post-traumatic, and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or the ADHD. For its onset, symptoms is in adolescents. For its course, impulsive symptoms of borderline personality disorder remit the most rapidly, while affective symptoms remit at a substantially slower rate, and recovery is more difficult to achieve and less stable over time. For gender differences, common among men, according to clinical samples, but demonstrates no difference according to community samples. For the risk and prognostics factors, it has been found to be associated with high rates of various forms of reported childhood abuse and emotional neglect, and about 5 times more common among first degree biological relatives. Next, or the third personality disorder here in cluster B is the histrionic personality disorder. Histrionic personality disorder is characterized by attention seeking behaviors and exaggerated and dramatic displays of emotion. Histrionic personality disorder is the first personality disorder that addresses pervasive and excessive emotionality and attention seeking. So these individuals are usually uncomfortable in social settings unless they are the center of attention. To help gain attention, the individual is often vivacious and dramatic, using physical gestures and mannerism along with grandiose language. These behaviors are initially very charming to their audience. However, they begin to wear due to the constant need for attention to be on them. If the theatrical nature does not gain the attention they desire, they may go to great lengths to draw attention, such as using a fictitious story or creating a dramatic scene. To ensure they gain the attention they desire, individuals na may mga histrionic personality disorder frequently dress and engage in sexually seductive or provocative ways. The sexually charged behaviors are not only directed at those in which they have a sexual or romantic interest, but to the general public as well. They often spend a significant amount of time on their physical appearance to gain the attention they desire. Also, individuals with histrionic personality disorder are easily suggestible. Their opinions and feelings are influenced by not only their friends but also by current fads. They also tend to exaggerate relationships, considering casual acquaintanceships as more intimate than they are. Here is the DSM-5-TR diagnostic criteria for histrionic personality disorder. The essential feature of histrionic personality disorder is pervasive and excessive emotionality and attention-seeking behavior. This pattern begins by early adulthood and is present in a variety of contexts. Remember here, it should be as indicated by five or more of the following. First, for the criterion 1, individuals with histrionic personality disorder are uncomfortable or feel unappreciated when they are not the center of attention. Often lively and dramatic, they tend to draw attention to themselves and may initially charm new acquaintances by their enthusiasms, apparent openness, or flirtatiousness. These qualities wear thin, however, as these individuals continually demand to be the center of attention, they command the role of the life of the party. If they are not the center of attention, they may do something dramatic. Say, for example, they make up stories or create a scene. To draw the focus of attention to themselves, this need is often apparent in their behavior with a clinician. For criterion 2, the appearance and behavior of individuals with this disorder are often inappropriately sexually provocative or seductive. This behavior not only is directed toward person in whom the individual has a sexual or romantic interest, but also occurs in a wide variety of social, occupational, and professional relationships beyond what is appropriate for the social context. For criteria 3, emotional expression may be shallow and rapidly shifting. For the criterion 4, individuals with this disorder consistently use physical appearance to draw attention to themselves. They are overly concerned with impressing others by their appearance and expend an excessive amount of time, energy, and money on clothes and grooming. They may fish for compliments regarding appearance and may be easily and excessively upset by a critical comment about how they look or by a photograph that they regard as unflattering. So these individuals, according to criterion 5, have a style of speech that is excessively impressionistic and lacking in details. Strong opinions are expressed with dramatic flair, but underlying rationales are usually vague and diffuse without. For diffuse without supporting facts and details. So, for example, an individual with histrionic personality disorder may comment that a certain individual is a wonderful human being, yet be unable to provide any specific examples or good qualities to support this opinion. Next is for criterion 6, individuals with this disorder are characterized by self-dramatization, theatricality, and an exaggerated expression of emotion. They may embarrass friends and acquaintances by an excessive public display of emotions. For example, embracing casual acquaintances with excessive ardor, sobbing uncontrollably on minor sentimental occasions, having temper tantrums. However, their emotions often seem to be turned on and off too quickly to be deeply felt, which may lead others to accuse the individual of faking these feelings. For criterion 7, individuals with histrionic personality disorder have a high degree of suggestibility. Their opinions and feelings are easily influenced by others and by current FUD. They may be overly trusting, especially of strong authority figures whom they see as magically solving their problems. They have a tendency to play hunches and to adopt convictions quickly. For criterion 8, individuals with this disorder often consider relationships more intimate than they actually are, describing almost every acquaintances as my dear or dear friend, or referring to physicians met only once or twice under professional circumstances by their first name. Moving on, here is the facts for histrionic personality disorder. Its prevalence is low compared to other personality disorders. For comorbidity, it has been associated with higher rates of borderline, narcissistic, paranoid, dependent, and antisocial personality disorders, alcohol and other substance use and misuse, and as well as aggression and violence. For its onset, symptoms in adolescence, and for its course, symptoms improve over time. For the gender differences, this disorder is frequently in females. However, gender ratio is found not significant. For association with suicidal thoughts or behavior, these individuals with a histrionic personality disorder may be at increased risk for suicidal gestures and threats. Moving on, this is the last personality disorder under the cluster B, and this is narcissistic personality disorder. So, narcissistic personality disorder is characterized by an inflated sense of importance, an excessive desire to be admired, and a lack of empathy. Similar to histrionic personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder also centers around the individual. However, with narcissistic personality disorder, individuals display a pattern of grandiosity along with a lack of empathy for others. The grandiose sense of self leads to an overvaluation of their abilities and accomplishments. They often come across as boastful and pretentious, repeatedly proclaiming their superior achievements. These proclamations may also be fantasized as a means to enhance their success or power. Oftentimes, they identify themselves as special and will only interact with others of high status. So, given the grandiose sense of self, it is not surprising that individuals with narcissistic personality disorder need excessive admiration from others. While it appears that their self-esteem is hugely inflated, it is very fragile and dependent on how others perceive them. And because of this, they may constantly seek out compliments and expect favorable treatment from others. When this sense of entitlement is not upheld, they can become irritated or angry that their needs are not met. A lack of empathy is also displayed in individuals with narcissistic personality disorder. They often struggle to, or maybe choose not to, recognize the desires or needs of others. This lack of empathy also leads to exploitation of interpersonal relationships as they are unable to understand others' feelings. So, they often become envious of others who achieve greater success or possessions than them. And conversely, they believe everyone should be envious of their achievements, regardless of how small they may actually be. So, this is the DSM-5-TR diagnostic criteria for narcissistic personality disorder. The essential feature of narcissistic personality disorder is a pervasive pattern of grandiosity, need for admiration, and lack of empathy that begins by early adulthood and is present in a variety of contexts. And remember here, as indicated by five or more of the following. First, for the criteria number one, individuals with this disorder have a grandiose sense of self-importance, which may be manifested as an exaggerated or unrealistic sense of superiority, value, or capability. They tend to overestimate their abilities and amplify their accomplishments, often appearing boastful and pretentious. They may blithely assume that others attribute the same value to their efforts and may be surprised when the praise they expect and feel they deserve is not forthcoming. For criteria number two, individuals with narcissistic personality disorders are often preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love. They may ruminate about long overdue admiration and privilege and compare themselves favorably with famous or privileged people. For criterion 3, individuals with a narcissistic personality disorder believes that they are special or unique and expect others to recognize them as such. They can be surprised or even devastated when the recognition of a claim they expect and feel they deserve from others is not forthcoming. They may feel that they can only be understood by and should only associate with people of high status and may attribute unique, perfect, or gifted qualities to those with whom they associate. Individuals with this disorder believe that their needs are special and beyond the ken of ordinary people. Their own self-esteem is enhanced by the idealized value that they assign to those with whom they associate. They are likely to insist on having only the top person, like the doctor, the lawyer, hairdresser, instructor, or being affiliated with the best institutions, but may devalue the credentials of those who disappoint them. In criterion 4, yung mga individuals na may narcissistic personality disorder generally require excessive admiration. Their self-esteem is almost invariably very fragile, and their struggle with severe internal self-doubts, self-criticisms, and emptiness results in their need to actively seek others' admiration. For criterion 5, a sense of entitlement which is rooted in their distorted sense of self-worth is evident in these individuals' unreasonable expectation of especially favorable treatment. They expect to be catered to and are puzzled or furious when this does not happen. Say, for example, they may assume that they do not have to wait in line and that their priorities are important, that others should defer to them. This sense of entitlement, combined with lack of understanding and sensitivity to the wants and needs of others, may result in the conscious of unwitting exploitation of others. According to the criterion 6, they tend to form friendships or romantic relationships only if the other person seems likely to advance their purposes or otherwise enhance their self esteem. They often absorb special privileges and extra resources that they believe they deserve. For criterion 7, individuals with narcissistic personality disorder generally have a lack of empathy and are unwilling to recognize or identify with the desired subjective experiences and feelings of others. They tend to have some degree of cognitive empathy but lack emotional empathy. These individuals may be oblivious to the hurt their remarks may inflict. When recognized, the needs, desires, or feelings of others are likely to be viewed despairingly as signs of weakness or vulnerability. For criterion 8, these individuals are often envious of others or believes that others are envious of them. They may begrudge others their successes or possessions, feeling that they better deserve those achievements, admiration, or privileges. They may harshly devalue the contributions of others, particularly when those individuals have received acknowledgement or praise for their accomplishments. Arrogant, haughty behaviors characterize these individuals. They often display snobbish, disdainful, or patronizing attitudes according to criterion number 9. So for the facts, its prevalence is low. For comorbidity, associated this is associated with depressive disorders, anorexia nervosa, and substance use disorders with other personality disorders. For onset, common in adolescence, and for its course, the manifestations of the full disorder may first come to clinical attention or be exacerbated in the context of unexpected or extremely challenging life experiences or crises. For the gender differences among adults aged 18 and older diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder, 50% to 75% are men. For association with suicidal thoughts or behavior, exposure to imperfection, exposure to imperfection, failure, and overwhelming emotions can evoke suicidal emotions. So here is once again a diagram that shows the neurological, the psychological, and social factors that affects or cause antisocial personality disorder. So the various factors create loops that ultimately produce psychopathy or antisocial personality disorder. Twin and adoption studies reveal that some people have a predisposition toward criminality or associated temperaments. That is for its neurological factor. But the environment in which children grow up, the social factor influences whether that predisposition is likely to lead to criminal behavior. In addition, for uh, the factors, here is a diagram or a figure that shows the factors and or the causes that causes borderline personality disorder. So according to Linehan's 1993 theory of borderline personality disorder, it rests on a series of loops. Some children have brain systems that is their neurological factor that lead them to have extreme emotional reactions, a psychological factor, and their parents may have difficulty suiting them, a social factor when they are emotionally aroused. So here is a maladaptive view, beliefs, and strategies of individuals focused only in histrionic and narcissistic personality disorder. As you can see in the table, there is a view of themselves, there is a view of others, their main beliefs, and their main strategies or their overt behavior. Next table is for you to be able to differentiate the four. Here is a table of that includes its own key features. I will not gonna read the content of this, but you can just browse my PPT. Lastly, for this part is the treatment, treating antisocial, histrionic, narcissistic personality disorder because borderline I found a reference with its treatment. So, for antisocial personality disorder, medication is usually prescribed only for comorbid disorders such as depression or a substance use disorder. While for the histrionic personality disorder, they use techniques from CBT or psychodynamic therapy. And treatment also for narcissistic personality disorder is basically the same with treatment for histrionic personality disorder with the use of techniques of CBT or psychodynamic therapy. This is a diagram showing the new treatments or the treatment for borderline personality disorders. For its changes in neural activity that targets neurological factors, it uses SSRI. For the changes in social interactions that targets social factors, it uses DBT or the group therapy component and IPT. And for the changes for thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that targets psychological factors, they use CBT also and psychodynamic therapy. So that's it once again for this part. And let's move on to the last part, the part 4 of this video.